Dragon Ball Super manga chapter number 29 is now officially in the history books as we begin to make our way out of the God of Destruction Zen exhibition match and into the Tournament of Power story, opening the doors to a brand new adventure as we have now reached the conclusion of the God of Destruction Rumble, with a shocking twist having to be made in the manga that separates itself from the anime. And again, if you guys are new to this channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button alongside enabling all notifications, that way you guys can be notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel in connection to news, information, updates, spoilers, leaks, and discussions. Hashtag Dragon Ball Squad to be up to date with all the latest in Dragon Ball, as we get to see both similarities and differences from the manga in comparison to the anime, as we kick off Dragon Ball Super manga chapter number 29 exactly where we left off, with the God of Destruction of Universe 11, Vermود, having to have the advantage over the other gods, as we get to see how Vermود traps each of the gods of destruction inside of this energy-like bubble, with Kitella having to say crap, we are all caught in his attack, and we see how he then unleashes these cards right in between his fingers, with Iwan having to say, that jerk, is he really trying to kill us all? So hinting at the idea that perhaps maybe Vermود was taking this battle a bit too seriously, as he then unleashes all of the cards towards the gods of destruction. And if you pay close attention to this manga chapter, a lot of it is centered around Vermود, because the end result of Toppo versus Goku correlates to Universe 11, as is in the anime, as Universe 11 is one of the primary focus points, as we know about Jiren having to be one of the strongest warriors in the tournament. So having to correlate back to this, Vermود is giving the other gods a bit of a hard time. First of all, to his credit, having to trap all the gods within this barrier, holding them off until he unleashes his attack, is pretty cunning in my opinion. And with that, we get to see how the other gods of destruction begin to get very agitated, as then Liquior begins to unleash an attack that a lot of people would reference to the Nine Tails from Naruto, which again, he looks pretty awesome in doing so, with Goku even having to ask, what's that move, with even Shin having to be very surprised, as we get to see Liquior burst out of the bubble and then having to redirect his focus in firing at all of the other gods at the tournament stage, which of course, if you guys look very closely, Liquior redirects his attention and focus directly towards the Universe 11 God of Destruction, as he fires off his attack directly at him, as Vermود blocks, taking the hits head on, and we get to see this massive explosion occur, to where if you look at it from the outside in, it looks spectacular in its own right, with then Liquior having to say, don't get cocky, Belmod. And what's interesting enough is if you go back and you look at what the Omni Kings are doing, one of the Omni Kings asks the other, who did that now? With the other Omni King having to say, I don't know. And then one of the most interesting and compelling shots occur, to where Halise, the Universe 2 God of Destruction, shows up right besides Liquior, holding a bow and arrow right next to his temple, and having to say, you too, Liquior, as she shoots him directly in the temple. Now the thing about this is, if it were not for Liquior having to stick his hand out, Liquior probably would have been dead, as we get to see a really gruesome shot of the arrow that Halise had just shot sticking straight out of his arm, with Liquior having to say, Halise, how dare you, with Halise having to later say, you've got good reflexes, Liquior. And then all the way out in the distance, Ramush begins to unleash this massive, ferocious roar, which shakes the entire foundation of the tournament stage, catching the attention of Liquior, Halise, Beerus, Champa, Kitella, even Goku, as Goku says, what is this? I can't move. I mean, I can't feel anything. And then just as this happens, the Supreme Kai gets knocked out. All of the Kaioshin actually ended up getting knocked out because of Ramush's ferocious roar, with Whis having to say, even the gods of destruction should be barely standing at this point. At the Lord of Lords level, it would make them all faint at an instant. Lord Ramush possesses the greatest lungs across all of the universes. His battle roar is strong enough to paralyze the motor nerves of anyone that hears it. So the other gods of destruction were momentarily paralyzed, according to what we said, because Ramush has that effect to where he can actually use his roar to his advantage, as seen when Ramush pretty much brolyed right through and having to take down several gods just by simply running at them, such as Iwan. And again, if you really pay close attention to this manga chapter, each of the gods of destruction has a moment to where they have the upper hand on the other. I don't think, in my opinion, by the end of this, there is any other specific god of destruction that has been confirmed to be stronger than the other. Various different gods do possess abilities and techniques that supersede the other, but nowhere, in my opinion, does it ever state that one specific god is head and shoulders above the other, as we then get to see how Ramush plows right through everybody, pretty much running roughshod, as Goku stares blindly out in the the distance and saying, "This is insane. Everyone's so ridiculously powerful. Their strength is mind-blowing. To be honest, I can't even figure out who's fighting anymore." So not even Goku himself is able to understand or register as to what the heck is happening. And that just goes to show how ferocious this battle is. And we stare off in the distance and there are explosions occurring. Champa punches Seadra, Mosco's crushing Liquor while shooting out at Helise, Vermouth is nowhere to be seen, and all while out in the distance, one of the Omni Kings says, "We can't see a thing. No, we can't." And the Grand Priest turns around and saying, "I see." Then let's end this with the Omni King having to say, "This is boring. Everyone is quick and loud." So the Omni Kings themselves aren't even too pleased by watching this, as we then get to see how Kitella slowly sneaks up behind Iwan and punching him so hard in the gut to where Iwan falls on down to the ground. And what's interesting about this is this little rat god turns around and he sees Beerus out in the distance as he does the same thing to Ramush and knocking him down, as Kitella says, "I knew that you would be one of the last ones standing, Beerus." And we see how Beerus is bleeding, he's tired, he's injured, he's huffing and puffing, and the same with Kitella. He has a giant knot upon his eye, which goes to show how brutal this fight actually is, as Beerus says, "Yeah, I can finally shut your nosy rat mouth," with Kitella having to say, "We can finally settle this. Silence, I am the one who's gonna win, you stupid hairless cat," with Beerus having to say, "Like you are." And as they're about to charge right towards each other and essentially knocking each other out, we get to see how the Dai Shenkan appears in between them, stopping, mind you, two gods of destruction with simply one finger. That just goes to show the immeasurable strength of the Grand Priest, as he is, if anything, the second strongest person in the Dragon Ball Super universe, as he stops Beerus, he stops Kitella, and even Kitella says, "Grand Priest." As we look out in the distance, Liquor, Arax, Seadra, Jean, they're all knocked on down to the ground, with the Grand Priest having to say, "This match is cancelled. You are all free to withdraw," with even Kitella having to see, "I see," and Champa's on the ground and saying, "Lucky." And that's when the Grand Priest says, "Your battle is too intense for His Majesty to enjoy. Therefore, all the gods of destruction are hereby disqualified from participation." At least now we understand as to why the gods are not allowed to compete in the Tournament of Power, because the Omni King thinks that they're boring. The Omni Kings don't like the way the gods have battled, which again makes sense as to why they chose mortals, as we see the Grand Priest pretty much take off with all of the individual angels having to jump on down to help their gods, and we get to see how Vermouth is on the ground. He looks up and he smiles, so maybe he could have been playing possum. There is something up with Vermouth in the manga that people have to pay very close attention to, as we get to see how the angels are healing their current gods of destruction, and all the way out in the background we see how Vermouth does not want any assistance from Margarita, which in turn you have to ask yourself as to why he is the only god that refuses assistance from his angel. As we go back to the Omni Kings, with the Omni Kings having to say, "How was it?" with the other Omni King having to reply by saying, "Huh, I don't get what was so interesting about it." And then the other Omni King replies by saying, "Well, I mean, what do we do with the tournament?" with the other Omni King responding by saying, "Well, I guess we don't have to carry out some things like this. Let's just destroy all the universes that we don't need," essentially wanting to commit mass genocide on the spot, with the Grand Priest having to say then, "Should we cancel the tournament itself?" As we then get to see Beerus return to his platform, with Goku having to overhear this by saying, "Did he just say cancel the tournament?" In which that's when Goku yells out loud, "Wait, hold on, Zenchan," and he begins to take off and flying towards their direction, and that's when Goku says, "Don't call it off." And mind you, at this very point the other gods are dumbfounded as to how he's calling the king of everything Zenchan, and we see how one of the Omni Kings says, "What's wrong, Goku?" And that's when Goku says, "I know that their battle was too intense to comprehend, but ours won't be anything like that," with the Omni Kings having to say, "What do we do? Then show us how you fight, Goku." And that's when Goku says, "Wait, me? How I fight?" And that's when the Grand Priest says, "I see. That seems more appealing," with Goku having to say, "I don't mind, but I can't tell how long I'll be able to last fighting gods of destruction. Watching their match made me realize that I still have a long way to go," confirming that Goku himself perhaps doesn't have what it takes to hang in there with the Hakaishin, as the Grand Priest says, "Don't worry, your opponent will be immortal." Conveniently, we have Mr. Toppo with us, and Toppo's shocked by saying, "Wait, me?" And that's when Goku's like, "Him? What? I mean, in that case, maybe I can show you some moves, with Toppo having to stare Goku down very menacingly after saying that, with the Grand Priest having to say, I assume you will take this offer, Toppo, please proceed to the stage. And that's when Vermouth says, this is your chance, Toppo, show them what you're capable of, don't let these bastards look down on you. And Toppo having to say, as you wish, Lord Belmont, as he steps onto the stage, with the Grand Priest having to say, in light of the lessons learned from the previous match, let's impose some more restrictions. To make it easier for His Majesty to watch, flying shall be prohibited. There will also be no weapons and no killing. The first person to touch the outside of the ring will lose. With Goku having to say, wait, we're not allowed to fly? With the Grand Priest having to say, that's what Zeno-sama wishes. And Goku then having to say, oh well, I guess we are on even terms since my opponent can't fly either. Which again kind of explains as to why flying is prohibited, and that's simply because the Omni Kings cannot keep up with what's happening. And just as this is about to go down, we see how one of the other angels approaches Whis and saying, Whis, that man is immortal from the universe that you are in charge of, correctly? With Whis having to say, yes, indeed. And that's when he says, are you not concerned by the way he acts overly familiar with our father? I mean, the Grand Priest? You must educate him in regards to his mannerisms. With Whis having to say, well, you have my apologies, my dear brother. He once helped His Majesty, which causes him to get carried away sometimes. With the other angel having to say, wait, what? He helped the Lord of Everything? Which could be in reference to Goku having to bring a friend to him, which of course happens to be the future Omni King. And that's when Toppo says, you there, and Goku having to say, what's up? Toppo says, who are you? Are you also a candidate for a god of destruction? With Goku having to say, I have no interest whatsoever in becoming a god of destruction. All I want is to get stronger. That's when Toppo says, have no interest? What? And Goku's like, you're going to become a god of destruction, right? I can't sense your power just like the gods behind us, but I can still tell that you're incredibly strong. With Toppo having to say, I can tell you're hiding what you're truly capable of too. With Goku having to laugh, and that's when the Grand Priest says, now let the second match begin. And as an end result, we already know the basis as to what happens here, as Goku becomes a Super Saiyan to no avail, having to charge right in Toppo's direction, with Beerus having to say he's using regular Super Saiyan to start, with Whis having to say he's probably going to observe his opponent first. And then just as Goku charges towards Toppo's direction, we get to see how they begin to engage. Now the manga adaptation of Toppo is quite different than the anime, because in the manga, Super Saiyan Goku to no avail can't even touch Toppo, as we get to see how Goku punches and kicks and tries to catch Toppo, with Toppo having to be too quick for Goku, as Goku comes on down and saying, oh man, looks like there's still a gap between us, with Toppo having to say, what is the point of these small attacks? Take this seriously. Of course, Goku not taking things serious, with the Omni Kings having to observe, and the Omni Kings having to say, oh, Goku's changed. Goku can fight by transforming. Wow, that's so cool. He's going to transform even more. And that's when the Omni King says, he is? How many more times will he transform? And they're trying to count and figuring out how many transformations Goku has, with the Grand Priest having to tell Whis, with Whis having to say yes, and the Grand Priest having to say, how many transformations can Mr. Goku perform? With Whis having to say he goes Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, plus God and Blue. I would say that he has 5 transformations in total so far. And that's when the Omni Kings are like, wait, there's 5? I want to see them all, I want to see them all. And that's when Whis says, as you wish. Goku, the Lord of Everything, is expecting to witness all of your transformations. Please kindly perform them in the presence of His Majesty. And that's when Goku's like, okay, sure, why not? As Goku transforms into a Super Saiyan 2, with Toppo having to say, you are hiding 4 more transformations? With Goku having to say, I wasn't planning on showing all of them either, but this is Super Saiyan 2. And that's when the Omni King's like, did he really change? I don't see anything different. And Beerus is concerned by saying, Goku, go to the next level right now, hurry, because the Omni Kings don't really see the change from Super Saiyan 1 to Super Saiyan 2, as we then get to see the return of Super Saiyan 3, as Goku says, and this is Super Saiyan 3. And one of the Omni Kings sticks his hands out and saying, yay, Goku's face looks so scary now, this is fun. And we haven't really seen Super Saiyan 3 in the anime, and having it be portrayed and showcased here, we have Super Saiyan 3 Goku having a battle against Toppo, and to Super Saiyan 3 Goku's credit, the fight does look intense, but of course for Toppo, this means nothing. Super Saiyan 3 Goku can't seem to even land a single blow on him, as we see Super Saiyan 3 Goku say, "What's going on? My transformations are useless," with Toppo having to say, "Is this all that Universe 7 has to offer? Well then, it's about time that I get serious too." In punching Goku so hard in the face, Goku looks to be very injured by this, with Toppo having to dish out just a single blow that seemed to have caught Goku off guard, and then from there, we get to see how Toppo begins to thrash Goku all throughout the ring, with Goku having to say, "Man, that hurt. So you're big and fast, huh?" With Beerus having to say, "That guy moved within the blink of an eye, what?" Everyone having to be shocked, with the Omni King having to say, "Toppo's cool. He's strong without transforming." And that's when even Belmont says, "That's right, Toppo, keep your eye on the prize." And just as this is all going down, Toppo is repeatedly just punching and Goku, thrashing him all throughout the ring, moving behind him, kicking him in the spine, punching him all throughout the ring, and Goku in this transformation seems like he's having such a difficult time because again, he can't punch Toppo. And that's when Toppo says, "Transform already, you're wasting my time," with Goku having to say, "Damn it, well, I guess it can't be helped. I'm going to the next level. From this point onward, I'll be at an entirely different level. Don't regret it." As then we get to witness Super Saiyan 3 Goku transform into Super Saiyan God, the resurrection of Super Saiyan God in the manga, as of course we haven't really seen it that much in the anime, aside from Battle of Gods and the brief moment having to be seen against Jiren and alongside helping Hit during the Tournament of Power, as the Universe 12 God and Universe 2 God says this power, it's as if he is a god, with Goku having to say, "This is the 4th transformation, Super Saiyan God." Sorry, Super Saiyan 4 fans. And Toppo having to stand there and saying, "You finally cast the aura of a god. Then I shall respond in the same way." And we see how Toppo begins to power up in creating somewhat of an aura, and Goku having to say, "I see. You also learned a lot from your god of destruction." With Toppo having to say, "That's right. On Lord Belmont's honor, I cannot afford to lose," with Goku having to say, "Same goes for me. I can't lose this battle either," as Toppo charges up an attack as Goku flies away, with Toppo having to assumingly enough use Justice Flash, as the Grand Priest says, "Flying is prohibited," with Goku having to say, "Crap, that's right," and having to break his guard momentarily in trying to redirect his focus at the Grand Priest, as Goku then gets caught with the attack from Toppo, as it ultimately sends Goku crashing on down, assumingly enough about to get wrung out, with Beerus having to say, "This is bad," he's falling, but Goku manages to catch himself by the edge of the ring, throwing himself back in, as we then get to see Super Saiyan God Goku battle against Toppo. And if you look very closely, Toppo is relative to Super Saiyan God, if not beyond that, with Beerus having to say, "That jerk." Phew! And the Omni King having to say, "Wow, this is amazing, they're both amazing," and even Iwan is saying, "This battle is already at the level of the gods," with Beerus having to say, "He's actually a match for this guy, now that he's in his god form, how is this even possible?" And we get to see how even Beerus says, "Goku, that's enough, go blue and finish him off," with Goku having to say, "Okay Beerus, it was great fighting you Toppo, let's continue this in the actual tournament," in which as Toppo punches Goku, we see how Goku catches the punch, transforms into Super Saiyan Blue. All of the gods are seemingly enough shocked by this. Now again, we don't know for sure if this was mastered Super Saiyan Blue Goku or not. It's safe to assume that it is, because the shot that we have here as Goku says, "Take this," is straight from the fight with Zamasu. So then we get to see how Goku pretty much puts all of his energy into that one fist as he's about to punch Toppo square in the face, as Toppo is quick enough to dodge Goku's punch and assumingly enough kicking Goku square in the balls. Now this is a ferocious Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 kick square to the nuts, because as this happens, Goku is seemingly enough in so much pain to where Toppo rings Goku out officially from the tournament, and this kick alone was enough to cause Goku to lose balance and getting wrung out. Now again, we see how the other gods are very shocked by this, and the Grand Priest having to say, "Son Goku is now out of bounds. The winner of this battle is Toppo," with Whis having to say, "Oh my, Goku lost," and Beerus having to be pissed by saying, "What's that idiot doing?" And the best part about this is how Goku is on the ground with him having to say, "Man, I lost," and that's when Toppo says, never let your guard down during the real thing, with Goku having to say, you're amazingly strong, and Toppo having to say, so are you. If I hadn't been able to counter that attack, I don't know if I could have won, with Goku having to say, at this rate, defeating you is a must. If I want to win the tournament, this isn't going to be easy. And that's when Toppo says, unfortunately, I am only the second strongest in Universe 11. And that's when Toppo says, in our universe, there is a person named Jiren. He is much stronger than I am. And even Goku says, hold on a second, I thought you were the best they've got. With Toppo having to say, wrong, I still have a long way to go if I want to reach Jiren. And that's when Toppo says, by the way, based on combat skill alone, Jiren is stronger than our God of Destruction, Belmod. With Goku having to be shocked by saying he's stronger than the God of Destruction as the manga chapter comes to a close. Now, there are certain things in this manga chapter that I disagreed with. Number one, how come the king of everything, the Omni King Zeno, are having a difficult time in keeping track of what the gods are doing, especially if you're supposed to be the supreme being that pretty much governs all the other universes? Why is it that Zeno is having a very difficult time in paying attention to what the gods are doing? If anything, if it were not for that, the gods would be able to compete, as of course the Omni Kings deemed them as being too boring because the fight was that brutal. But that just goes to show the caliber in which the gods are at for them to even make the Omni Kings get bored, and Goku having to be shocked in seeing the way they outperformed each other. But either way, here it is confirmed by Toppo that according to combat skill alone, Jiren is stronger than even his own God of Destruction. And with this, the fight with Toppo and Goku resulted much differently, as you get to see how Toppo in the manga is more calm, cool, and collected with Goku, whereas in the anime, he pretty much hates his guts. But by the end of it, it is confirmed that the angels are in fact related to each other, and of course it is confirmed that the Omni Kings were going to wipe out the universes right then and there if it were not for Goku trying to convince him otherwise. Of course, we saw how the execution of each of the transformations occurred from Super Saiyans 1, 2, and 3, God, and Blue, but of course there is no confirmation if in fact Goku was in his mastered Super Saiyan Blue form. But with one kick, you have to keep in mind this was a setting purposely designed that if somebody were to get wrung out, that would be the conclusion of their battle. This wasn't a death battle, because I believe if of course this was a death battle, things might have been different as an end result for Goku and Toppo. So post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on this manga chapter? Did you guys agree or disagree with the overall direction of how the gods battled? What are your overall thoughts as to personally for you, who you think is the strongest god? And what are your overall thoughts on Toppo having to fight against Goku, having to win his battle momentarily? And how different do you guys believe the Tournament of Power story is going to be in comparison to the anime? Thank you all so very much for watching. If you guys are new to this channel, don't forget to go on ahead and punch that subscribe button, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, then be sure to go on ahead and leave a like down below. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.